क्या किया था लास्ट क्लास में?
with critical reasoning and summary questions.
Critical reasoning and summary, है ना? ठीक है, फर्स्ट क्लास लॉजिक सिलोजिज्म्स एंड देन क्रिटिकल रीजनिंग एंड समरी. और क्वेश्चंस मैंने दिखा दिए थे तुम्हें किस तरह से आते हैं, राइट? जंबल्ड सेंटेंसेस व्हिच यू नीड टू फॉर्म. तो जंबल्ड सेंटेंसेस की बात करेंगे आज, जंबल्ड एंड ऑड वन आउट. ठीक है, दैट विल बी द फोकस. ठीक है, ट्राई.
So last time we were discussing a question and आपने बोला था उससे कंटिन्यू करेंगे वाली क्लास.
क्या था?
वो समराइजिंग पे हम कुछ कर रहे थे, मतलब we read a para about it.
अच्छा, मैं उसको देख लेता हूँ. आई थिंक कैट का प्रीवियस क्वेश्चन था वो.
हाँ जी, पेपर में था शायद.
ठीक है, अभी इसको ट्राई करो, आई विल कम बैक टू दैट. So what do you guys think should be the approach for these questions? How should you approach solving these questions? Anyone?
Looking at the options in a way helps, like you can approach the question by seeing the order, and if it makes sense, then maybe that is the correct one.
ऑप्शंस तो चार ही हैं, बट ऑप्शंस नहीं होते तो कितने तरीके थे अपने पास? Number of ways of arranging these 5 sentences. कितना?
120.
120.
हाँ. So definitely 4 out of 120 is a very easy methodology. ठीक है. अब this question becomes difficult because इसमें है 120 में से there's only one correct answer, right? You see the probability how low this is? 0.83%, less than 1% of correctness. But there are certain observations and certain tips that I can share with you that works, that work in reducing the time limit and giving you the right answer. First of them is to find a suitable introduction to the passage. Now, even before we go there, I think the most important thing is to understand the message of the passage. Like, what is the passage about? In this passage, what do you think this passage is about? What is this passage about?
Fighting.
Huh?
Fighting.
Fighting. What kind of fighting?
The neighbors.
Neighbors, but who are the people involved? Fiddler crabs हैं, neighbors हैं, resident है, कुछ males हैं, resident intruder में males हैं, resident में males हैं, and so on. ठीक है? किसी के घर में कोई किसी से आके लड़ाई कर रहा है. Can I say this is the idea overall? See, once you have that idea, you have to find a suitable introduction, something that introduces the topic that this is happening. Can you find that sentence in here? Forget the options. Can you find the introductory sentence here?
Option B.
Option B. देखो, let's go one by one and see. The two neighbors never fought each other. What is the sentence telling us? It is using the word the. What does the tell you? Particular those. वो वाला कोई. Those two neighbors. The मतलब those two neighbors. अब क्योंकि ये those है, it is referring to someone. वो refer किसको कर रहा है वो अभी तक नहीं पता. And hence this cannot be the first sentence. Moreover, it has to come right after when those neighbors are being introduced. Okay? Does that make sense? Next, fights involving 3 male fiddler crabs have been recorded, but the status of the participants was unknown. Now, this could be a good introductory sentence because it is talking about fiddler crabs. It's introducing the noun here. इसका कोई reference नहीं है इसमें. And it's talking about fights. It's also introducing the concept of fighting here. So it could be a good starting sentence. How about C?
It has they pushed or so they.
They,
Who they.
the pronoun
Mhm.
requires a noun to be introduced first. So a noun has to come, and also that noun is plural because it's they. Postdoc grappled only with the intruder, and the intruder, the means that again the intruder has already been introduced earlier. So what are we kind of using here? Reference, like pronouns, determiners. They help in forming links between sentences. Next, we recorded 17 cases in which a resident was fighting an intruder. Resident was fighting an intruder was joined by an immediate neighbor. No referent. We है एक तरीके से, but we don't know who we is. Are you getting it? ये वाला जो pronoun है, this pronoun is a bit tricky to understand. यहाँ पे कोई we है ही नहीं, but फिर भी it has been used. We will see what this V refers to later. We therefore track 268 intruders. Can you see the word therefore?
Therefore,
That means it has to come after something that brings us to it. There has to be talked about, there has to have been a talk about this before the sentence has been introduced in the passage. So by that reason, I think there are only two contenders for the first place, which is B and D. Now, which one of them is more suitable as an introduction?
B.
D. See, in this case, the D is talking about a specific scenario when intruder was joined by neighbor and so on. This could not have been introduced as the first sentence because you have not even talked about any fights happening. You've not talked about the intruders or neighbors and so on. So directly D is not forming like the best first sentence. So we'll go with B, option B. Sometimes you may not find a suitable introduction, but a suitable conclusion for the passage, and that is okay. Then also you have an idea of what or how the sentences can be linked. Yes. Okay. So let's understand the passage. It says fights involving 3 male fiddler crabs have been recorded, but status of participants is unknown. Can I have the 2 neighbors right after this? We don't know what
No.
neighbors. We
Mhm.
don't know. Which sentence can come after that?
E. E.
Hmm?
E.
अच्छा, what is this V? ये V किसको रेफर कर रहा है?
Maybe the people who are conducting the study.
हाँ, the experimenters. तो ये भी पता चल रहा है who has written this passage. चलो ठीक है. हाँ, क्या आएगा फर्स्ट के बाद, फर्स्ट सेंटेंस के बाद?
E. Maybe.
E. Why? Well, we know that there could have been links that could have been formed, right? Something like the 2 neighbors. You all have sentence. The 2 neighbors never fought each other. Would require the reference to the 2 neighbors. कौन-कौन से हो सकते हैं वो 2 neighbors? D. दिख रहा है D option? D is talking about the resident that was fighting was joined by the neighbor, which means these 2 are neighbors. A resident joined by a neighbor is a neighbor. So after D, I would have A. So I mean, I could put DA as one block, which could be fit anywhere. Yeah. They pushed the grapple only with the intruder. What does that mean? They मतलब definitely these
The two neighbors.
the neighbors pushed the grapple only वो intruder से ही लड़ रहे हैं. जो बाहर से आया उसे लड़ेंगे ना साथ में मिलके. So D A के बाद C आ जाएगा. Why? Because it's saying that उसने join किया, आपस में नहीं लड़े, वो दोनों ही सिर्फ intruder से लड़े. Logical sense बना रहे हैं तीनों एक साथ. ठीक है. So DAC is like a triplet. It's going to come together. I already know that B is the first sentence. Clear? Which means E has only 2 places. Either it will be BEDAC or it will be BDACE. Make sense? अब इन दोनों में से कौन सा बेहतर है?
CEDAC.
अब C क्या कह रहा है? They pushed the grapple only with the intruder. We therefore tracked 268 intruder males until we saw them fighting a resident male. So it's again bringing back to the fight. It would have been better if we had used it earlier. So BEDAC forms like the best possible scenario here. Option number 1. So what are some of the ways in which you can correctly join sentences. First and foremost, you have to understand what the passage is talking about. Try to figure out a suitable introduction or maybe a conclusion, whichever is easier. Use the information of reference, which helps create links between sentences. Create those links and figure out ways in which other sentences could be fit in them. Make sense? Yes, there are other ways also. For example, general to specific. It is generally noted that any conversation would move on from a general topic and go on till the examples, right? You say in general, Indians are smart, and then you take examples of X, Y, Z, and so on. Example follows hypothesis. You cannot give an example and then tell me that this is what happens. And there's also a bit of assumption in that. I mean, one example cannot lead you to a hypothesis. Whereas one hypothesis can have multiple types of examples. So it's generally that a hypothesis is like a fact, okay? A fact or a premise. A premise is presented first, and then an example is given to support it. Transition words like however, but, because, hence, furthermore, tell you that that sentence can definitely not be the first sentence. And it has to be in front of someone or after someone who is talking about the same idea, either in the same connotation or in the opposite connotation. So if you have however or but, you will definitely have two divergent thoughts in those two sentences. But in case of and, hence, therefore, you'll have same thoughts. जैसे अभी पीछे वाले में किया था, we therefore tried. Very rarely used, but chronological means depending on time. So you could have had maybe a storyline that is starting from 1950 and going till 2000. So it's 99.9% likely that you'll go chronological in a chronological order. We'll go first talking about the act in 1950, then what happened 10 years later, and then what is happening right now, rather than anti-chronological order. Opening and closing, we talked about introductory sentence versus the conclusion sentence. Noun-pronoun relationship are basically reference. You could also use determiners to help you fathom how is the relationship and so on. Are we clear with all of this? All of these are only there to help you. The best way of attempting the question is to use IQ, general knowledge. जो logically सही लग रहा है वही होगा. जब भी doubt है, तब इन लोगों का help लेके आप कर सकते हो कहानी. ठीक है? Okay. Yes, it also helps if you think while reading those sentences that how would you have written if you were the writer? How would you have presented them? And what arguments are flowing logically? Which one should come first? Which one should come second, third, fourth, and so on? Definitely helps. So let's try this one. Okay, listen. A lot of people are starting all of this with the fourth sentence. Okay, I've received that. Now, did you guys find a problem with the fourth sentence? It has a pronoun which should have had a noun before it. Is there any noun which this pronoun can take?
Skin cancer.
Skin cancer did not start with a lump. Because they didn't know what it was. You can't say skin cancer started, right? It was something else. It means it. It does not have a noun here. It means something. Because it is unknown, we don't know what noun to use for it. That's why it's it. So it started with a lump on Katie Perkins industry. उसकी index finger में कुछ तो हुआ. उसके बाद
Photo three.
सिर्फ
Oh,
Second,
photo one three.
second
one
sentence.
read. She's saying. ये मैं लिख लेता हूँ. देखो. Second sentence talks about the while up there. The मतलब वो. अब वो कौन? वो noun के बारे में बात हो चुकी होनी चाहिए. The only sentence is talking about a noun, sentence 4, which means sentence 2 has to come after 4. Make sense? Did not know what it was, nor did a GP. GP means
General practitioner.
general practitioner, nor is a general practitioner, doctor. Now, 103 दो में प्यारे sentence है. One says, then a routine scan showed her come back. What had come back? And spread to lungs. Lump. अगर वो lump होता तो पहले उसको जाना भी तो पड़ेगा. Then it can come back. और वो part first sentence में लिखा हुआ है. The diagnosis was skin cancer, and after it, we all seemed well. But it came back and spread to the lungs. So 4213 is the perfectly right answer. Any questions or doubts in this? Let's try this. Yes. Do we understand what this whole conversation is about? क्या है ये इसके बारे में? Yeah.
How Twitter is encouraging partiality and objectivity.
Subjectivity. It is favoring partiality and subjectivity. Subjective मतलब subject पे dependent. Subject is individual person. So anything which is subjective means you have different opinions because people, every person is different. Objectively means all together. It's a common consensus. That is objectivity. So partiality, impartiality is the opposite of that. Because impartiality and objectivity are fiendishly difficult concepts that can cause all sorts of injustices, even if transparently implemented. फिर भी injustice cause कर सकते हैं, even though बिल्कुल transparent हो. It क्या है नहीं पता अभी के लिए. It's okay. It encourages us into bubbles of people we know and like, while blinding us to different perspectives. But the deeper problem of transparency lies in the words "and much more." This sentence is hinting that is the sentence before this should have had these words "and much more." Twitter's website says the tweets you are likely to care about most will show up first in your timeline based on accounts you interact with, tweets you engage with, and much more. Yeah, much more. So, without further thought, I should create this pair. We are only told some of the basic principles, and we can't see the algorithm itself, making it hard for citizens to analyze the system sensibly or fairly, or be convinced of its impartiality and objectivity. Okay? Okay. So 3 and 2 are there. 3 कह रहा है ट्विटर के बारे में कुछ, 2 कह रहा है कि वो क्या कर रहा है. It's deeper problem of transparency है ये. ठीक है? Now, what should be the first sentence and what should be the last sentence? Any idea about that?
Can fourth be the last sentence?
What makes you say that?
In a way, if we put the first sentence first, and then the third and second can be example, and then we conclude it with the fourth sentence.
ठीक है. Basic logic सही लग रहा है मुझे ये. पहला, the first sentence looks a great introductory sentence. ठीक है? Moreover, the second sentence uses the word transparency, which has been picked up from the first sentence. There's a correlation. So second has to come after first. So if 3-2 is a pair, one should be before these. Third, the fourth sentence is kind of a conclusion. While giving these examples of this main topic, there are 2 examples. Basically, one example of Twitter in 2 sentences, and then it is summing it up. What is the actual problem? So I agree. I think the best formation should be 1, 3, 2, 4. Are we comfortable with these questions? आ रहा है समझ में? खुद से ट्राई करो, गलतियां करो यहाँ पे और बातचीत करो, क्योंकि these are probably I feel the most difficult questions in the exam. कहीं पे for whatever reason, if you are forgetting the meaning of one word, you might not create a correct relationship, which will then prove to be unutilizable. Most of these questions are type and type answer, which means you can't even use the option choices. There are 120 options, or let's say if there are four sentences, still you have 24 options. So it's difficult to choose the right one. Okay? So yes, let's continue. Let's try this. बात किस बारे में चल रही है इन सेंटेंसेस में?
Swifts.
और तो सिर्फ एक ही कहानी है, दैट इज नॉट द मेन.
So the woodlands as well.
वुडलैंड्स कैनोपी, हाँ. और उसके बारे में बात क्यों हुई है? अच्छा देखो, एक आंसर आया है मेरे पास. आई वांट टू डिस्कस विद दैट, डिस्कस अबाउट दैट. द फोर्थ सेंटेंस हैज बीन कॉल्ड द फर्स्ट सेंटेंस. ठीक है. नाउ देयर इज वन रीजन दैट आई कैन सी दैट इट शुड नॉट बी द फर्स्ट सेंटेंस. कैन यू टेल मी व्हाई द फोर्थ सेंटेंस कैन नॉट बी द फर्स्ट सेंटेंस?
सनलाइट, सनशाइन.
आवाज बहुत कम आ रही है तुम्हारी. फिर
सर
से?
सनलाइट और सनशाइन की बात हुई है फर्स्ट.
हाँ तो
इंट्रोडक्शन सनलाइट का हुआ है फर्स्ट सेंटेंस में.
ठीक है. और दूसरा, इसमें जो सनशाइन हुई है उसके पीछे लगा है द. वो वाली सनशाइन कौन सी जो यहाँ से आ रही है, इस वाले सनलाइट की. मोरोवर इसमें लिखा है द कैनोपी. कौन सी कैनोपी? ये
Woodlands canopy.
देन योर रिबटल है किसी का? नहीं. कुड बी कि यहाँ पे भी तो द लगा हुआ है. तो इस ये द क्या? वेल, सनलाइट मतलब सूरज की किरणें. देयर इज ओनली वन सन, तो इसलिए उस पे द लगा भी दो तो भी चलेगा. ठीक है. इट्स लाइक दैट द. तो इसलिए फर्स्ट सेंटेंस नहीं होना चाहिए. अभी क्लियर?
Yes, sir.
कैन द थर्ड सेंटेंस बी फर्स्ट सेंटेंस?
No, because it has their streamlined body. So whose streamlined body it is?
नहीं. Do you guys know what a modifier is? Do we know what a modifier is? Something that modifies. Yes, modifies. Modifies मतलब it basically provides additional information about a noun. It generally appears like this. Either between two commas or before the comma, after the sentence, before the sentence. ठीक है? And its objective is only to provide additional information about the noun. Moreover, if you remove the modifier, the remaining sentence still should make proper sense. Still should make proper sense. So that is the quality of a modifier. If you remove the modifier, the remaining sentence still makes sense. ठीक है? इसका यूज हम कब करते हैं? When we have complex sentences, उनमें से modifiers हटा दो, क्योंकि ये तो additional information प्रोवाइड करता है ना. रिमेनिंग सेंटेंस पढ़ लो, उसका मीनिंग समझ लो, फिर मॉडिफायर्स का मीनिंग उसके ऊपर ऐड करते हैं. Are you getting what I'm saying here? That is a law or property of a modifier, is that the noun it modifies should be right beside the modifier. The noun the modifier should be right beside the modifier. What does that mean? Well, listen to this sentence. I'll remove this part and read the remaining sentence. Swifts are agile flyers, ideally adapted to twisting and turning through the air. The remaining sentence makes sense? ये वाली कहानी clear है? So that is why it is a modifier. First of all, the first part. Second, What is this? What is this part doing? It is giving me additional information. Providing additional information. About which noun? ये there किस लिए यूज किया गया है? कौन है ये there?
Swifts.
Swifts. Can you see? Swifts exactly beside the modifier ही तो है. It is right beside the modifier. Are we clear with all this? So the third sentence is basically talking about Swifts. ठीक है? If the sentence did not have this part, this would have still made sense. Swifts are agile flyers that they are proposed twisting, turning to the air and chase flying insects. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. So there वहाँ पे is referring to these swifts itself and the sentence अपने आप में complete है. तो वो तो reason नहीं है. और कुछ? एक 1/4 तो पेयर बनी है ना वैसे हमारा. ये दोनों तो साथ में आएंगे. ठीक है, आगे बोलो.
Second में it is mentioned about hunt. So third can be an explanation like how they do that hunt with their streamlined bodies.
ठीक है. Any other student has any other thought?
सर जो 2 है मुझे मतलब थोड़ा सा कंक्लूडिंग सेंटेंस टाइप लग रहा है.
Why?
क्योंकि सर वो बता रहे कि डू नॉट कन्फाइन देमसेल्फ टू वुडलैंड्स, वो और भी कहीं जाते हैं तो इन्फ्रेंस निकाल रहे हैं उनसे.
क्यों जा सकते नहीं और ये? Why can't they go to other places other than woodlands?
Because of their streamlined bodies, they are agile flyers.
They are. But why do they go away from woodlands? What is their motivation?
राइट.
Of going
Insects.
to woodlands और बाकी लोग. It is because diet. They love flying insects. तो जहां भी insects मिलेंगे वहां चले जाएंगे. Animals का क्या है? दो तीन चीजें होती हैं. खाना मिलता रहे, जिंदा रहे और प्रोक्रिएट करते रहे. 2-3 काम होते हैं बस. तो इनको जहां खाना मिलता है वहां चले जाते हैं. ये है कहानी जो सेकंड सेंटेंस का है. ठीक है, बिल्कुल सही है. तो बताओ क्या होगा इनका अरेंजमेंट?
1, 4, 2, 3.
1, 4, 2, 3 ये लग रहा है सबको? अच्छा ठीक है. सो कैन 2 बी द फर्स्ट सेंटेंस? नहीं, 3 भी नहीं हो सकता है ना. वुडलैंड की ही पहले बात होगी तो 1, 4 तो स्टार्टिंग ही है. उसके बाद आइदर इट इज 2, 3 और इट इज 3, 2. ये दो तो इन दोनों में तो ऑप्शन में डाउट है. तो एक बार इन दोनों को पढ़ लो, एक बार देखो कौन सा बेटर लग रहा है.
It can be 1, 4, 3, 2 as well, because in third sentence, end में when they're saying they chase flying insects, the creatures that form the staple diet, it is kind of introduction for the insects. So
Ah.
it can be 322, 1432.
Acha, I'll refine what she's saying. She's saying third sentence is telling us about what swifts eat. The second sentence is telling us about they do not confine to woodlands because they love eating what they eat. So they find it wherever they want, they can. So क्योंकि because use कर लिया है, the explanation should have come earlier. So it should be 3-2. So we have all the logics in front of us. बताओ क्या होगा सही?
सर एक रीजन ये हो सकता है क्या कि जो फोर्थ में है वो ऑलरेडी स्विफ्ट्स को इंट्रोड्यूस किया है फोर्थ सेंटेंस में।
हाँ तो
फिर हम लोग थर्ड पे फिर मतलब थर्ड उसका सीक्वेंसिंग हो सकता है फिर 3-2 4
हाँ
3
हो सकता है, हो सकता है। Falling prey to swifts and swallows. तो swallows की तो बात की नहीं इसने, सिर्फ swifts की बात की है। और फोर्थ ने भी बता दिया कि फ्लाइंग इंसेक्ट्स फॉल प्रे टू दीज। तो थर्ड बिल्कुल सही बता रहा है ये देखो फोर्थ सेंटेंस इज टॉकिंग अबाउट फ्लाइंग इंसेक्ट्स जो उस कैनोपी में है, दे फॉल प्रे टू स्विफ्ट्स एंड स्वॉलोज। स्विफ्ट्स जिनकी किसी तरह की बॉडी होती है, आराम से घूम लेते हैं और उनको खा लेते हैं क्योंकि उनको पसंद है ये खाना। क्योंकि यहाँ पे इंसेक्ट्स की भी बात हुई है, यहाँ पे भी हुई है, स्विफ्ट्स की भी बात हुई है, यहाँ पे भी हुई है। सो देयर 3 शुड फ्लो आफ्टर 4। ये भी एक दूसरा रीजन है। और चारी वाला रीजन भी बढ़िया था, क्योंकि इंसेक्ट्स होते हैं इसलिए वहां जाते हैं। देखो शुरुआत ये हुई है कि वुडलैंड की कैनोपी है, बहुत सनलाइट आती है, इसलिए बहुत इंसेक्ट्स आते हैं जो खाए जाते हैं किसी वजह से। वो इनको खाना बहुत पसंद करते हैं और वो सिर्फ कैनोपी में नहीं, कहीं भी चले जाते हैं जहाँ पे इंसेक्ट्स मिल जाए। तो 4 3 2 and talking about insects, one is talking about one of the examples. Can you see? ये थोड़ा ट्रिकी कहानी है। ये ऐसा नहीं है कि उसने टॉपिक इंट्रोड्यूस किया स्विफ्ट्स के बारे में, नहीं, एक एग्जांपल लेके वो एक फाइनल ऑब्जर्वेशन पे आया है। ठीक है? That is why I said कि the tips that I shared with you are not may not work every time. It is IQ that matters more. ठीक है? Good. चलें आगे. Try. Yes, only one answer. बाकी लोग क्या कर रहे हो? Yes. But now we have another group. Can this be the first sentence? But other connecting word है, कहीं से तो आ रहा होगा और opposite direction में बात कर रहा होगा, right? By the way, इस पूरे concept में बातें क्या है? मतलब what is the main conversation? काफी अच्छा conversation topic है, by the way. You can have GDs on this topic also. What is the conversation about?
Incompatibility between democracy and high levels of inequality.
What were the first few words you said?
Incompatibility between the democracy.
Incompatibility. Incompatibility of A with B, ऐसे बोलते हैं. Incompatibility between A and B नहीं होता कुछ.
Okay.
Of A with B. या compatibility of A with B. Same कहानी.
Okay.
Compatibility के साथ with आता है of A with someone.
Okay.
तो हाँ, वो यही कहानी कर रहा है. क्योंकि डेमोक्रेसी और हाई लेवल्स ऑफ इनइक्वालिटी एक साथ नहीं रह सकते, क्योंकि इनइक्वालिटी है किसी के पास बहुत पैसा, किसी के पास कम पैसा, और उसके पास बहुत पैसा, उसके पास पॉलिटिकल इकोनॉमिक पावर भी है. ठीक है, यही सब बातें चल रही है. तो थर्ड सेंटेंस है बिलीविंग दीज पीपल कौन नहीं पता, इसको भी एक रेफरेंस चाहिए. तो फर्स्ट और थर्ड तो पहले सेंटेंस नहीं हो सकते, सेकंड या फोर्थ में हो सकता है. अब दोनों को अगर आप पढ़ लोगे तो आई थिंक इट्स वेरी क्लियर दैट सेकंड इज अ बेटर इंट्रोडक्शन, राइट? It's introducing the topic of democracy and high levels of inequality of the kind that have come to characterize the US are simply incompatible. They are incompatible. Very rich people will always use money to maintain their political and economic power. Can you see there's a correlation, direct relationship? Second sentence has been further explained by the fourth sentence.
Yes, sir.
Hanji, guys? Yes? Okay. Which means 2 and 4 flow together. How about 1 and 3? You can't have 1 as the last sentence because it would not end well, right? But you have another one. अरे भाई बताओ तो सही उनके बारे में कुछ. So it has to be 1, 3, and the third sentence should have been talking about those unwitting enablers.
सर
Enablers लग रहे हैं, ये कह रहा है कि अगर ये if you are believing that they're working for a better world, then you are mistaken, my friend. हाँ, Rashish.
सर जो फोर्थ सेंटेंस है उसमें इन्होंने ये इंट्रोडक्टरी भी हो सकता है. मतलब मैं मतलब थिंकिंग ये कि वेरी रिच पीपल विल ऑलवेज यूज मनी टू मेंटेन देयर पॉलिटिकल एंड इकोनॉमिक पावर, राइट? सो जो सेकंड है वो बता रहा है कि डेमोक्रेसी एंड हाई लेवल्स ऑफ इनइक्वालिटी ऑफ द काइंड. ये काइंड ऑफ द काइंड का मतलब वो शायद रिलेट कर सकता है फोर्थ से.
देखो, हो सकता था फोर्थ सेंटेंस अगर वो कुछ ऐसा होता, वेरी रिच पीपल हैव ऑलवेज यूज्ड मनी, हैव ऑलवेज यूज्ड, मतलब ये एक जनरल सेंस बना रहा है कि पहले से अभी तक चलता आ रहा है. सेकंड सेंटेंस ऐसा ही कर रहा है, हैव कम टू कैरेक्टराइज, बहुत टाइम से चल रही है ये कहानी, ये है मेन कहानी. क्यों होता है ऐसा? क्योंकि रिच पीपल दे विल यूज मनी, जो रिच बनेगा वो विल यूज मनी. Are you getting it? थोड़ा सा टेंस चेंज करके फोर्थ सेंटेंस हो सकता था पहला, बट फिर भी मैं सेकंड को ही प्रेफरेंस देता. अभी तो इन दोनों में सेकंड को ऑलमोस्ट 50% मोर प्रेफरेंस है, बट उस केस में भी 10% होती सिर्फ.
राइट सर, थैंक यू सर.
ओह नो चाहो, वेट. तो ठीक है, तो ये कहानी कंप्लीट है. लेट अस पिक अप ऑड वन आउट. आर यू रेडी? अब as I discussed with you in the last class, the odd one out question did not come last year. ठीक है? There's a very high probability it won't this year as well. I feel, I don't know. तो हम दोनों बातें करेंगे. We'll talk about the odd one out also and we'll talk about fitting the sentence also जो last year आया था. पर उससे पहले हम थोड़ी प्रैक्टिस कर लेते हैं लास्ट ईयर क्वेश्चन पेपर की with arrangement of sentences. हाँ, कौन सा रह गया था लास्ट क्लास में, कौन बोल रहा था? Was it सानिया, रिया, कौन था?
सर आई थिंक इसमें नहीं रहा था, आप अलग से पैरास पढ़ा रहे थे हमें,
अलग से
जिसमें
पढ़ा?
हम सब्जेक्ट वगैरह मतलब द टॉपिक द इंटेंट ऑफ द राइटर वगैरह ढूंढ रहे थे, समराइज करते थे.
समझी में?
हम्म.
अच्छा, चलो मैं देखता हूँ. ये ट्राई करो मुझे.
जिसमें साइंटिफिक क्वेश्चनिंग के रिलेटेड भी एक क्वेश्चन था शायद, पैरा था एक.
हाँ उसका था वो
उसी पीपीटी में था.
सोक्रेटिक.
हाँ वही वाला. तो उसके आगे के एक दो.
देखता हूँ. पढ़िए वन फोर सेंटेंसेस है ना इस कॉन्वर्सेशन. किस बारे में है कॉन्वर्सेशन?
Relationship between the commute and productivity.
तो मुझे
So work from home and work from office.
not really. That's an example. But yes, that has been talked about. तो एक एक करके बढ़ते हैं. पहला सेंटेंस क्या कह रहा है? Some company leaders are basing their decisions on locating offices to foster innovation and growth. As the best performing inventors suffered the greatest productivity losses when the commutes grew longer. ज़्यादा दूर है तो फिर productivity कम हो रही है, and that is why these company leaders are locating their offices strategically. एक कहानी. छोटा commute supports innovation. पास में अगर हो तो it supports innovation by giving them more time in office and greater opportunities for in-person collaboration while removing the physical strain. तो productivity loss नहीं होता. This is explaining why shorter commutes are better for innovation, right? This is not always the case. This मतलब the remote work, which means remote work की बात इससे पहले हो जानी चाहिए थी. So जो fourth में हो रही है, some see the link between long commutes and productivity as support for work from scenarios. ये कह रहे हैं कि बिल्कुल ही ट्रैवल नहीं करना पड़ेगा, फिर तो शायद ये सपोर्ट इसलिए कह रहे हैं ज्यादा लॉन्ग कम्यूट मतलब इनोवेशन ट्रेन होगी, प्रोडक्टिविटी ट्रेन होगी, तो कम्यूट करो ही मत, प्रोडक्टिविटी हाईएस्ट होगी, ऐसा कुछ कहना चाह रहे हैं लोग. दे सी द लिंक बिटवीन दिस एंड दे सपोर्ट वर्क फ्रॉम होम as many workers have grown accustomed to this during pandemic. This is not always the case. ये बता रहा है ये कि ऐसा नहीं है. Remote work does not lead to greater creativity and productivity because water cooler conversation is also very important for innovation. क्या होती है water cooler conversations?
So informal communication
हाँ,
among the
informal
employees.
communication. आपस में एम्प्लॉइज क्या बात कर रहे हैं, कंपनी के बारे में, ऑफिस के बारे में एंड सो ऑन. तो देख रहा है 4 और 3 तो लिंक्ड है और 3 4 के बाद आना चाहिए. इज दिस यहाँ तक इतना तो क्लियर ही होगा सबको होपफुली.
Yes, sir.
बता देना बिल्कुल मुझे. दिस इज अ पेयर. 1 और 2 में बताओ मुझे. अच्छा 1 और 2 आर टॉकिंग अबाउट शॉर्टर डिस्टेंसेस, both of them same idea. Should they come before this duo or should they come after this duo?
Before.
Before? What is your logic behind that? Anything चलेगा. फील आ रही थी, ये भी चलेगा ऐसे नोट से.
लग रहा था.
लग रहा था वही फील आ रही थी.
So
नहीं
it
हो.
is talking about the positive scenario. That's why maybe.
Say that again.
So maybe it's talking about the positive scenario. That's why it has been chosen as the introductory line.
अच्छा 2 तरीके हैं. एक तो मैं ये पूछ रहा था कि इससे पहले क्या आ सकता है और दूसरा है कि इंट्रोडक्शन देख लो कौन बना सकता है. आइदर 4 कैन बी द इंट्रोडक्शन या इन दोनों में से कोई, राइट? अब सबसे पहले इन दोनों का रिलेशनशिप देख लेते हैं. आएंगे तो साथ में ही है. सो लेट्स मेक दैट पेयर फर्स्ट, फिर उसको फिट कर लेंगे. सो व्हिच वन ऑफ देम शुड कम अर्लियर? कौन सा किसके बाद आना चाहिए?
First and second.
अच्छा व्हाई?
Because
because-
वो इंट्रोड्यूस कर रहे हैं कि लोकेटिंग ऑफिस से इनोवेशन एंड ग्रोथ आता है, फिर उसके बाद मतलब क्योंकि जब ज्यादा कम्यूट होती है तो प्रोडक्टिविटी कम हो जाती है. देन दे आर प्रोवाइडिंग द बेनिफिट ऑफ शॉर्टर कम्यूट्स. मतलब पहले एक प्रॉब्लम बता रहे हैं कि ज्यादा कम्यूट होती है तो प्रोडक्टिविटी लॉस होता है. देन दे आर गिविंग द आंसर टू इट कि शॉर्टर कम्यूट्स होगी तो इनोवेशन ज्यादा हो जाएगी.
चलो ठीक है,
इन दैट सेंस.
ठीक है, मेक सेंस. 2-1 होता तो गलत होता क्या?
The 2-1 भी तो हो सकता है. Like first can be the example of the second sentence.
हाँ हाँ, क्या है? गो अहेड. 1 first can be the example or first can be
The example of
action
the
item.
second
It can be an
means
action
it's
item.
justifying or supporting that particular statement.
हाँ मतलब क्योंकि 1 हो रहा है 2 हो रहा है. Either you can say 2 is happening because of 1 or because of 1 2 is happening. दोनों तरीके से लिखा जा सकता है ना. My point is 1 2 और 2 1 दोनों ही सही लग रहे हैं अभी. Do we agree? Do we all agree with that? कोई
Yes,
ऐसा
sir.
स्पेसिफिक रीजन नहीं आया कि कौन सा बेटर है. But we have to find a better one. So what logic will you give me so as to convince me कि वो 1 2 होगा 2 1 होगा?
If we go for second first, then the first can become the reason for that. That shorter commute supports innovation. Thus, company leaders are basing their decisions on locating offices to foster innovation and growth.
Hmm.
But also it can be to foster innovation and growth. Shorter commutes are being वो तो
Hmm.
again one to भी हो सकता है.
बेसिकली ये भी हो सकता है बिकॉज अगर लास्ट मतलब वन पहले हो सकता है बिकॉज लास्ट लाइन अगर देखेंगे द बेस्ट परफॉर्मिंग इन्वेंटर सफर्ड द ग्रेटेस्ट प्रोडक्टिविटी लॉसेस व्हेन द कम्यूट्स ग्रू लॉन्गर. उसके बाद सेकंड सेंटेंस का सेकंड पार्ट देखेंगे व्हाइल रिमूविंग द फिजिकल स्ट्रेन ऑफ अ लॉन्ग कम्यूट. तो वो
हाँ.
उसका जवाब ही दे रहा है, एक सोल्यूशन दे रहा है. तो फर्स्ट शुड प्रेफर लाइक वन
ऐसा-
पहले आना चाहिए देन द सेकंड शुड बी देयर.
हाँ नहीं ठीक है, मेक सेंस. देखो सेकंड स्टेटमेंट में इंफॉर्मेशन ज्यादा है, ध्यान से देखना. फर्स्ट में कम है. सेकंड क्या कहता है? शॉर्टर कम्यूट सपोर्ट्स इनोवेशन. ठीक है, इट सपोर्ट्स इनोवेशन, पहली कहानी. गिव्स देम मोर टाइम इन ऑफिस, सेकंड. ग्रेटर कोलैबोरेशन अपॉर्चुनिटीज, थर्ड. एंड रिड्यूसेस फिजिकल स्ट्रेन ऑफ कम्यूट. 4 पॉइंट्स दे दिए उसने. किसके सपोर्ट में? शॉर्टर कम्यूट. अभी क्लियर? उन 4 में से पहले ने क्या यूज किया? लॉन्ग कम्यूट को शॉर्ट कर देना, लोकेटिंग ऑफिसेस. एंड प्रोडक्टिविटी लॉसेस हो रहे हैं अगर वो लॉन्ग हो जाएगा तो. ये तो नहीं बोल रहा कि अगर शॉर्ट होगा तो प्रोडक्टिविटी इंक्रीज होगी. वैसे इट इज काइंड ऑफ अंडरस्टूड, बट ऐसा वो कह नहीं रहा है. my point being, this one is showing a direct correlation of what happens when X happens. Like X happens, Y happens. यहाँ पे some of those Y's have been taken, and that is why the company leaders are basing their decisions on locating offices to foster innovation. And innovation की तो बात ये भी कर रहा है, innovation and growth. अच्छा, it seems what could be a can both of these be great introductory sentences? मुझे तो ऐसा लग रहा है कि second should be a better introductory sentence. It is describing shorter commutes के 4 values, and that is why some leaders are basing their decisions on that. चलो अभी देखते हैं. I'll keep both of them in the loop. Let's keep 2, 1, 4, 3. So definitely 2, 1 will come before, or if it is 1, 2, they have to come before 4, 3. Do we agree with that? Yes or no? So it's either of these two.
So वैसे अगर मतलब से हम देखें we are putting 2 and 4 together, अगर we put that take that option, तो दोनों ही sentences some and some से शुरू हो रहे हैं, तो वो बहुत एक ही साथ में repetitive भी लग रहा है.
Wait, that is okay.
But in the first sentence, in the last line, greatest productivity losses when their commutes grew longer. This is one negative aspect of long commute. And then we are using like while some see the link between long commutes and productivity as support for work. So we are talking about negative first, like 2, 1. In 1 we are talking about the negative aspect of long commute, and if we then use fourth, then it would be like interlinking that. Then we are talking that while some support the long commutes.
But the first में भी तो last में दिया है. There's a removing physical strain of long commute. While removing physical strain of long commute, Some see link between long commute and productivity as support from work from home. One के बाद 4
But in the first, but sir, in the first, we're talking about productivity. In second,
Ah.
we are talking about the physical strain. In first, we are talking about the productivity, and again in fourth, we are talking about productivity and long commutes.
Good point. I like this. ये करिए. The last line है इस sentence की, which is the greatest productivity losses happened because the commute grew longer. Long commute and productivity loss के इस रिलेशन को उठा के कुछ लोगों ने सपोर्ट बना लिया है अपने वर्क फ्रॉम होम के आर्गुमेंट में. This is, I think, the best logic by far, which supports 2143.
Yes, sir.
Any retaliation? Right? Take 2143. Let's try this. What, or rather which sentence is the best introductory sentence?
So
Great.
third,
Third one.
Third.
Third, everybody agrees? देखो logically वो first starting point है ना, creative industry, सब कुछ creativity के बारे में बात हुई है, ठीक है? इसमें creative element in product design, a very specific thing. We would prefer to go on from general to specific. That is why it's preferable not to use it as a first sentence. In fact means it has to definitely come after something else. It would be strengthening another idea. The creative industry, ठीक है? It is for this reason. What reason? The reason has to precede the sentence. So we should do something like the creative industry is giving a lot of attention today, as its growth rate is faster than that of the world economy as a whole. What should come next?
Two.
Two. Why?
Second.
Saying, in fact, अब इसमें क्या बोला था? उसकी growth rate की बात की, it is faster than the economy. In fact, the creative element in the value of the industry would be still larger, जितनी है उससे ज़्यादा होती, if we added the contribution of creative element in other industries, such as design of tech accessories. Clear? Now, design has been introduced, which means I can continue talking about design now. Should I talk about fourth first or first first?
First.
First.
First seems like the logical answer. Why? The creative element in product design has become of paramount importance. बहुत ज़्यादा. Paramount is supreme importance, as it is one of the few ways a firm or industry can sustain a competitive advantage over its rivals. Competitive advantage कब होती है? जब आपके पास कुछ ऐसा है जो किसी और के पास नहीं है, और आपके पास ऐसा क्या है जो उसने फोर्थ में दे दिया? आपके पास इंटेलेक्चुअल प्रॉपर्टी है. हाँ, somebody was saying something. Is this all good with this? यही था आंसर. इसका ये नहीं था. Are you convinced with this answer? चले फिर आगे. Okay. There you go. क्या बात कर रहे हैं? What is the conversation about?
About collagen and how it helps in skin regeneration
वो तो
and the diseases
हाँ,
and the diseases also.
डिजीजेस वगैरह की बात कर रहा है. फिर एनिमल कोलाजन की भी बात की है इसने, पिग, काउ, फिश, इन सब की, है ना. चलो तो इंट्रोडक्टरी सेंटेंस भैया,
Second one.
सेकंड वन, इससे बेटर कोई नहीं. Every other sentence uses collagen as something that we already know, which means I have to first introduce it, and second sentence explains what it is. Collagen, one of the main structural proteins. अब दिख रहा है, देखो यार, modifier दिखा है इसमें, ये वाला पार्ट 2 कॉमा के बीच में modifier है, हटा दो इसको, मत पढ़ो. Collagen is well known for promoting skin regeneration. Make sense? Remaining sentence बढ़िया है. क्या मतलब? कोलाजन जो भी है, इट प्रमोट्स स्किन को रीजनरेट कर देता है. ठीक है. अब उसमें एडिशनल इंफॉर्मेशन क्या है? इट इज वन ऑफ द मेन स्ट्रक्चरल प्रोटीन्स इन कनेक्टिव टिश्यूज इन ह्यूमन बॉडी. ठीक है, प्रोटीन है ये ह्यूमन बॉडी का. चलो, सो 2 इज एन इंट्रोडक्टरी सेंटेंस ओनली बिकॉज ऑफ दैट मॉडिफायर. नहीं तो नहीं होता ये, क्योंकि दैट मॉडिफायर इज इंट्रोड्यूसिंग एंड टेलिंग अस मोर अबाउट व्हाट and rather describing what collagen is. What should come after 2?
सर पहले फर्स्ट क्या होना चाहिए?
हाँ,
सर फर्स्ट में फिश स्किन कोलाजन का है, फिर सेकंड में कोलाजन का है.
आवाज नहीं साफ आ रही तुम्हारी.
ये सर फर्स्ट सेंटेंस है, फिश स्किन कोलाजन का है,
हाँ, इसके बाद 2 के बाद
और सर सेकंड में कोलाजन का है.
हाँ, तो 2 के बाद 1 आना चाहिए. Is that what you're saying?
वन आना चाहिए सर पहले. अगर
अच्छा, फर्स्ट होना चाहिए था 1 सेंटेंस.
यस सर.
फिश स्किन कोलाजन हैज एक्सीलेंट ब्ला ब्ला ब्ला. ये फिश के स्किन के कोलाजन की बात कर रहा है.
यस सर.
कोलाजन क्या होता है वही नहीं पता, वही तो इंट्रोड्यूस किया सेकंड वाले ने. इट इज प्रोटीन, हेल्प्स इन रीजनरेशन. ये इंट्रोडक्शन है. ये फिश वाला तो एक एग्जांपल है जो फर्स्ट और थर्ड सेंटेंस में बात चल रही है सिर्फ. और फोर्थ वाला क्या कह रहा है? फोर्थ वाला क्या कह रहा है? The risk of introducing disease agents into other species. So the use of pig and cow collagen proteins for wound healing has inhibited its broader application. Its मतलब pronoun है
Application of
Collagen.
collagen,
हाँ,
animal
Fish collagen.
कोलाजन. कोलाजन की जो और एप्लीकेशंस थी मेडिकल फील्ड में, वो नहीं हो पा रही हैं. क्यों नहीं हो पा रही हैं? क्योंकि कुछ रिस्क है. अगर हम इसको यूज करते हैं पिग या काऊ में, तो फिर उसमें डिजीज जा सकते हैं, क्योंकि ये इट्स रिप्रेजेंट्स कोलाजन. दिस प्रोनाउन शुड बी यूज्ड आफ्टर कोलाजन वाला सेंटेंस एंड इट शुड कम आफ्टर 2. 4. इसके बाद किसकी बातें कर सकते हैं?
Third.
फिश स्किन swims in here. In here मतलब
In this discussion,
हाँ,
to solve the problem of diseases वाला.
in here क्या है ये? किस जगह पे?
In the discussion of using animal collagen.
ठीक है. They swim in here. यहाँ पे जो कोलाजन होता है उसमें they swim in here and are different from most human pathogens. तो ठीक है, इसको लिख लेते हैं यहाँ पे. And एक ही बचा फिर, that should come towards the last. It has excellent thermostability and tensile strength, making it ideal for bandage and so on and so forth. ये हुआ इसका. इस वाले passage में the relationships were not that clear or easier to identify as were in the earlier passage that we've done. ठीक है. One passage in the exam, ये एक ही तो था, इतना difficult है, will be difficult. One passage will be difficult in the exam. And since all of these are type and type answer, wherein you are not rewarded any negative points, you should still try and complete these. ठीक है. Never, I would recommend to not leave these questions in the exam. See, I think I've already talked about odd one out a bit, you know, similar to jumbled sentences. You will have to unjumble them, and on top of it, you will have to find the sentence which is not in relation to the passage. तो इसमें दो लेवल ऑफ डिफिकल्टी है, एक तो जंबल्ड भी है प्लस एक गलत भी है. अब जो गलत है, that sentence might also be talking about the same idea जो कि बाकी पैसेज बात कर रहा है, बट वो परफेक्टली फिट नहीं हो पाएगा उसमें. ठीक है. अब what do I mean by that? Read this question on your screen and tell me which statement you find is not fitting. Yes. Any thoughts? पूरी conversation किसके बारे में?
Our researchers study
The study of babies,
learning.
development of languages in them.
Hmm.
By the way, this was the easiest passage for you because इसमें सारे ये jumbled नहीं है, ये jumbled नहीं है, sequence में ही है. इसमें वो वाला factor नहीं था, इसमें सिर्फ odd one out ही निकालना है, ठीक है? So let's read it one by one. People who study children's language spend a lot of time watching how babies react to speech they hear. ठीक है? बहुत टाइम लगाते हैं ये देखने में के लिए कि वो आवाज पे रिस्पॉन्स कर देते हैं बच्चे, राइट? दे मेक फिल्म्स. दे कौन?
People who study, researchers.
The people who study.
Hmm.
They make films of adults and babies interacting and they examine them. Them मतलब
The children.
नहीं,
The
The
video.
videos.
the films. Examine them very carefully to see whether the babies show any sign of understanding what the adults say. कोई भी हो सकती है वो sign, ठीक है? They believe that babies begin to react to language from the very moment they are born. शुरुआत से ही हो जाता है. Sometimes signs are very subtle. Slight movements, कान हिल गया, head हिल गया, हाथ हिल गया, तो आवाज पे reaction क्या हो रहा होता है? इसलिए शायद उनको movies भी बनानी पड़ती हैं because it's very subtle. You have to watch it on repeat. You never notice them if you were just sitting with the child. But by watching the recording over and over, you can spot them. What? Them मतलब?
The signs.
The signs. ठीक है? अभी clear with this? चलो, तो सारी ही बातें लॉजिकल लग रही है, कुछ और लगा इसमें किसी में? बातें बिल्कुल परफेक्ट हैं, है ना? और शायद एक ही कॉन्वर्सेशन के रिगार्डिंग भी रिवॉल्व कर रही है. The issue is very small, very small. These 5 sentences, 4 of these 5 sentences are depicting a process. They are talking about what is done, but one of them is not a part of the process. Can you identify which one?
Third.
The third one. It is a belief system. It's not the process. The process is they want to hear. That is why they make film, because the signs are very subtle and you can't notice them. That is why they make films. Okay? So the third one is talking about the belief that they have rather than the process itself. And that is why that is out of context or odd one out. Make sense? This was 2017 CAT question. Try this. I have not an answer already. Conversation इस बात पे हो रही है सारी.
That Mars once had water, but then it was lost due to um, uh, due to solar storms.
और उन्होंने वो लेयर ही हटा दी है, राइट? ठीक है, तो किस तरह का यहाँ पे रिलेशनशिप किस सेंटेंसेस में बन रहा है? हाउ कैन यू लाइक अनजम्बल दीस सेंटेंसेस एंड व्हिच वन शुड बी आउट? Fifth sentence is talking about two studies. ठीक है? One of them is telling that it has lost a lot of water. The other one tells that some liquid water remains. That is what the fifth sentence is going to. Fourth क्या कह रहा है? Data from the Maven orbiter shows that solar storm stripped away most of Mars' once thick atmosphere. Solar storms की वजह से. Solar storms आई क्यों थी? वो शायद इसने सेकंड में दिया है ना? Particles from the sun collided with molecules in the atmosphere. सन के पार्टिकल्स हैं, मॉलिक्यूल्स एटमॉस्फेयर से कोलाइड किए, नॉकिंग देम इनटू स्पेस, या फिर वो ऐसा इलेक्ट्रिक चार्ज कि उनको हटा दिया गया, तभी तो थिक एटमॉस्फेयर पतला हो गया, जो फोर्थ ने देखा, राइट? एटमॉस्फेयर पतला हो गया. Most planets remaining water is now frozen or buried, but clues over the past decade suggested that some liquid water might survive in underground aquifers. As you can see, I skipped reading this part because it's a modifier. तो क्विक रीडिंग हो जाती है मॉडिफायर हटाने से. तो क्या से 4 के बाद 2 आएगा? 4 is an introductory sentence, 2 is explaining why that thick atmosphere has become smaller, right? I have studied in 5 2 studies, दोनों पानी के बारे में, and that relates to 3 कि पानी कितना बचा है कितना नहीं बचा है, and even 1, right? Okay, so what is how, like, definitely 4 has to be the first beginning sentence. So either the arrangement is, the arrangement should look something like this, but one of them is an extra sentence. Which of them is an extra sentence? Which of these sentences, if not given, would have still given me all idea about this topic?
First one.
The first one is just supporting the 5th statement, right? See, I need the second one because 4th needs to be explained. I also need the 3rd one because it is an explanation of what those studies, why both the studies are correct. But the first one is only an extension to 5th. So it is preferable that first one should is the order. सही आंसर आ रहे हैं काफी लोगों के. ओके, चला गया? नहीं, ये रिवीजन नेक्स्ट क्लास में करेंगे, अभी नहीं कर रहे. अब कुछ क्वेश्चंस पुराने उठा लेते हैं इसमें से. How about this? Let's also do so yeah. Okay, try this. किस बारे में बात हो रही है? कुछ सफिक्सेस है ना? Okay. Which one of these do you think is the odd one out? Or what is the logical sequence of the remaining four? Sentences पढ़ लेते हैं. अरे हाँ देखो, stat signaled something measurable, matic advertised labor and tron indicated control. ठीक है, तो तीन चीजों की explanation है sentence में, and those three have been mentioned here.
Fourth, yeah.
So these two are definitely a pair, and they since they are a pair, एक ही odd one out है, तो ये दोनों तो रहेंगे. ठीक है, okay. And what are these? They are basically suffixes. जो इस historian ने बताए हैं, ठीक है, उनको ऐसे ऐसे नाम दे देंगे. Now, it was a totem. It मतलब
The suffix.
हाँ, the suffix. यहाँ पे we had to gain the suffix was to acquire a proud and optimistic emblem of the electronic and atomic age. And it was totem of high modernism, the intellectual and cultural mode that decreed no process of phenomena is too complex to be grasped, managed or optimized. Like the heraldic shields of ancient knights, these morphemes were painted onto names of scientific technologies to proclaim one's history and achievements to friends and enemies alike. ये तीनों चीजें जो अंडरलाइन नहीं है 2, 3 and 5, what are they talking about? कि सफिक्स को पाते कैसे थे लोग, है ना? और सफिक्स को what did it mean to gain the suffix was to acquire a proud and optimistic emblem of the electronic and atomic age. Why are they talking about the electronic and atomic age? Because they are saying that जैसे ancient knights को shields मिलती थी, बिल्कुल वैसा ही है. Proclaims one history and achievements. What are morphemes? Morphemes?
Code.
Small part of something. In this case, it's a small part of a word. Suffixes है ना? They were painted onto the names of scientific technologies. बिल्कुल knights के respect में. Scientific technologies क्यों? क्योंकि they are part of the electronic and atomic age. So the second one is a bit out of context. It was a totem of high modernization, intellectual and cultural mode. कि कोई भी phenomenon complex नहीं था. अब हो सकता है ऐसा हुआ हो, but इस conversation में ये perfectly fit नहीं हो पा रहा है. Do we all agree? And hence, the second is going to be the odd one out here. Let's try this. Yes. बात क्या हो रही है यहाँ पे? Told us that the unexamined life is not worth living, and let to know yourself. Thyself means yourself is the part to true wisdom. It suggested that you should adopt an ancient rhetorical method favored by the likes. Elision, speaking about yourself in the third person. Research has shown that people who are prone to rumination often suffer from impaired decision making under pressure, and that is such an useful research. Simple rumination was turning your thoughts around your head is not a way to achieve self-realization. The idea is that the small change is very clear on emotional fog. Okay. So, सबसे पहली कहानी, as soon as you are able to form a relationship between sentences, you are sure that they are there to remain. They will not be the odd ones out. What else do you see? Acha. Okay, let's talk about this. What is this it?
The research.
Huh? The research.
The
Yes.
research.
Yes. It is the research. The research has shown. So it suggests, the research suggests that you should do something like this. दिख रहा है? एक और relationship मिल गया. और so 4 3 2 तो relationships के आसपास हो गए और 5 है या 1 है इसके साथ.
The 1 आएगा. वो 5 आएगा.
5.
This मतलब
When you see yourself in a third person wala.
this means that when you are adopting this, speaking about yourself in the third person, अगर तुम ऐसा करते हो तो तुम clear your emotional fog और biases हटा देगा. तो ये चारों लोग related हैं. One is the odd one out. वो क्या कह रहा है कि unexamined life is not worth living. Know yourself with true wisdom. एक जनरल कहानी कर रहा है. हो सकता है ये इसी होता क्या है, एक पैसेज है उसमें मल्टीपल पैराग्राफ्स हैं, उनमें से कोई भी पैराग्राफ उठा के दे विल जंबल इट एंड टेल यू टू अनजंबल. ठीक है, तो इसलिए शायद इंट्रोडक्टरी सेंटेंस परफेक्टली ना भी मिले कभी कभी. इसलिए शायद जो ऑड वन आउट है वो किसी और पैराग्राफ लेकिन उसी पैसेज में से लिया गया होगा, तो सिमिलर आइडिया के बारे में बात भी कर रहा होगा, तो इसलिए वो थोड़ा डिफिकल्ट हो जाता है. राइट, तो यहाँ पे वही कहानी है मेरे हिसाब से. मोस्ट प्रॉब्ली द फर्स्ट सेंटेंस इज फ्रॉम द प्रीवियस पैराग्राफ ऑफ दिस पैसेज, मोस्ट प्रॉब्ली. So one is the odd one out. What do you think is going to be the arrangement of the remaining 4?
So 3 4
नहीं
2.
4 3 2 5.
Rumination को explain तो करो पहले. ये रहा, ये तो explanation है. What is rumination? 4, then you are using rumination. 3, it suggests something or this small change क्योंकि वो वहीं से लिया होगा. तो 4 3 2 5 is the best idea. ठीक है, okay. So let's stop here. अगली क्लास में we're gonna continue these conversations. कुछ और questions करेंगे. Practice करके आना इस हफ्ते. Bring in your doubts. Tell me if you have any difficulty. उनको address करेंगे. And then we'll end with talking about sentence fitting जो अभी बहुत recently last year paper में आया. ठीक है. कुछ और revision करना हो तो वो बता देना, उसको भी ले लेंगे. No issues.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
Thank you, sir.